Thanks for the applause, guys. Thanks for coming out. Obviously, thank you to Eric. I think this is the fifth iteration of Speaking in Sushi. It's grown every time, and I think this is now, just like Jay's call, part of Empire's culture, I think this has now reached that same level where Speaking in Sushi is right up there. So my topic tonight is think fast. But I'm not here to tell you about how to think fast. I got myself reading this book. It's called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. And before I get into the book and some of its teachings, we talk a lot about process on a macro level. Process in building your accounts, process in building your relationships, the process that these two guys are going through and learning all the material. It's a fundamental that we stick to. But there's also processes on the micro level, on the molecular level. And that's what this book really concentrates on. It's the mental processes that we experience every second, every nanosecond. And there's some pretty interesting stuff that this guy talks about. And it has applications to our daily life and obviously to our work lives as well. So what the author does is he breaks down the mind into two entities, two agents, or two characters. And it's not left brain and right brain like you may know. It's System 1 and System 2. So System 1 is a character that works automatically without any effort. It's involuntary. 99% of the thinking that we do in our daily life is all System 1. Driving your car, tying your shoes, walking to work in the morning, it's all System 1. System 2 is the taxful mental effort that we have to go through to answer tough questions like multiplying 17 times 24 or recalling past information that just isn't on the tip of our tongue, all that kind of stuff. Now, System 2 operates maybe 5% of the time. We don't use it as often as we think we do. But there's two interesting things. Number one, we identify with System 2. When I think about how smart I am, I'm thinking about System 2. It's the I did, I thought, I can. It gives us our sense of agency, our sense of choice, and our sense of consciousness. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and you're all going to find this hard to believe, but mentally we are all extremely lazy. Both systems do and exert as little effort as they absolutely have to. And while this is shocking, it makes complete sense. Think about it. We only have so much energy to divvy up amongst everything our body does. If we were constantly engaged in System 2, constantly in high taxful mental effort mode, by 8 o'clock in the morning, you would be mentally spent. You wouldn't be able to get through your day. System 1 and the tools that I'm going to talk about lets you get through your day with relative ease and does so efficiently and very effectively. So three of the tools that System 1 uses is number one, it builds associations. Secondly, it can be primed. And the last one is that it jumps to conclusions. Now, these are just three of the many tools. So building associations. From the day we're born, we start associating what is normal from abnormal. We put places, people, things into environments and contexts so that when we see them together, we either know, hey, those two things belong there, or wait a minute, something's not right here. An example of this, I'm going to present you guys with two words that you've hopefully never seen or heard together, is bananas vomit. Now let that sink in for a second. What just went through your mind mentally? You probably thought about bananas, the last time you had a banana, whether or not you like a banana. You pictured a banana. Unfortunately, too, you also thought about vomit, the last time you threw up, what made you throw up. And your mind started to put these two things together and eventually reached the crossroads where it said, wait, these two things do not intersect. And there's a visual cue, and this is something you should start to hone in on people. When you're engaged, when you have someone's System 2 engaged, their pupils will begin to dilate. That's the cue that someone is like taxfully thinking right then and there. And that's probably what happened to all of you without you even realizing it. Your pupils dilated. So what your mind did is this building of associations. It tried to put those two things together. Eventually it reached the point where it said, System 1 said, nope, can't do it, I'm giving up. I'm lazy, I'm not getting off this couch. Handed the work off to System 2, where System 2 basically just said, yep, those two things don't belong together. But if I presented them to you repeatedly over the course of a week, a couple weeks, eventually that association would be built. And it would be just as normal as everything else in your daily life. I mean, think about some of the things we perceive as being normal. There's a homeless guy who lives out on my street in his car. Back in May, that wasn't so normal to me because that was the first time he was there. But now that it's August, I'm almost, when I don't see him, I'm like, where the hell's the homeless guy? And once winter comes along, which is when I hope he leaves the street because he can't survive in his car, there's going to be a couple of days where I'm like, well, where's the homeless guy? Something's not right here. So that's building associations. Now the next one's priming. And priming's a little scary because, quite frankly, it shows that you don't have complete control over even your involuntary thinking. And there's two very interesting examples of this and tests. The first one is they gave a group of students 2 questions, and they changed up the sequence of how the questions were asked. The first sequence was, how happy are you? Followed by, how many dates have you been on in the past month? And then they reversed the sequence. The question was, how many dates have you been on in the past month? Followed by, how happy are you? Now, in the first sequence, there was no correlation between happiness and number of dates. People that were really happy hadn't been on any dates, and people that weren't so happy had been on a lot of dates. The data was scattered all across the board. But what they found, when they asked the date question first, people started to think about their love life, which started to get them thinking about their happiness, so that when they saw that second question, they were primed by the first question. So the people that had been on many dates were happy, and people that hadn't been on many dates were unhappy. These were the same people, they answered the same set of questions just in reverse order, and they had different feelings about their happiness. And they were asked these questions, during the same day. Nothing had changed other than the sequence of the questions. And the other interesting example, which is very interesting considering the period we're in right now with elections coming up, they found that when during a vote, during an election, say a local election, if school funding is being talked about, if it's either something that's on the ballot or maybe one of the candidates is very high on school funding, if your polling location or your voting location is within a school as compared to a VFW hall or a church or some municipal building, you are more likely to vote for that school funding. Why? Because the environment has primed you. You're thinking about school, you're thinking about the kids that go to this school, maybe you look at the condition in the school, it's not so great. You think about your time spent in school, the good teachers you had, the good resources you were provided, or the bad teachers you had, the bad resources you provided, and you want to see the next generation get better, and you're more likely to check that box for yes. It's a pretty remarkable thing that we're really not in control. Not only is this involuntary, but it's easily influenced by our surroundings, just very simple things. And then the last one, the jump to conclusions. Now, jumping to conclusions has a huge negative connotation. People think that if you jump to a conclusion, you didn't look at all the facts, you didn't really analyze anything, you took it and go, yep, I totally agree with that. But think about it. If jumping to a conclusion, either A, gets you the correct answer, which is great, which is optimal, or B, the incorrect answer has no negative consequences or minimal negative consequences, then jumping to a conclusion is a perfectly good way of getting to an answer. It's effortless, it's efficient, and it's either completely effective or not ineffective. And the example that was provided in the book and that I'll provide you guys is the statement of starfish eat candy. Now, in a very short amount of time, I hope you were able to decipher that starfish don't eat candy. But mentally, what your mind did was, instead of outright denying what I said, it moved to confirm it first, and then, just like the bananas vomit association, went from, okay, let me picture a starfish eating a Snickers bar, wait a second, that's not right. System 2 kicked in and said that's not right. So it requires less energy, and it's more efficient for you to confirm something and later deny it, as opposed to not make any decision whatsoever, engage System 2, use mental effort, use energy, and then either confirm or deny. It's just a very interesting way of how our mind goes about getting to some information. So I can't challenge you to think any faster. It's evolutionary. System 1, monkeys have System 1, fish have System 1, we all have System 1. But you can definitely use this to your advantage in your daily life and in your work life. When you're proposing to your doctor some questions about a product, think about the order, the sequence of those questions. Order them in a way that leads them down the road you want to lead them to. When you're proposing something to your significant other or something like that, put them in an environment that you think they're going to agree to. You can play with people's minds, essentially. It can be a little fun, but also remember that people at the same time can easily play with your minds. We're all very pliable like this. So I thank you all for listening to me. I hope this was interesting and engaging. If you have any more questions, I can't wait to answer them during the sushi time. But thank you.